Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Gayatri Dialogues for Women's Health. Today, we have with us Priya Ramasubban, who is basically a filmmaker. She's a creative communicator. She's also an environmental activist, a public speaker, and has done tremendous amount of work on gender. We are so pleased to have her here because what we would like to talk about today is communication and storytelling for women and by women. And that is so inimical to conversations around public health messaging, women's health, and so much. Thank you so much, Priya. It's such like a lovely, it's so lovely to have you and to host you. We'd love to know a little bit about what you do, your journey into filmmaking, if we'd love for you to share a little bit about your work with our audiences.
Regular journey. Went to college. Wasn't very good at studying. Didn't like it much. Um, but I went to Lady Shri Ram in Delhi. So I had a thappa that our society sort of likes. And then I went to Sophia in Bombay, another thappa. And that helped propel me to get where I am. And then now more thappas like National Geographic, Netflix, things like that. These are all like buzzwords that everybody. If I had been a filmmaker of the same kind, but didn't have all of these sort of branding, then it would be difficult. I found I consider myself a storyteller, really. Because I always sat in school and class and never paid attention to anything and was making my own stories in my head, looking out the window. There'll be a little speck of something outside the window, and I'd be like, oh, that's a golden thing and it's a treasure and I'm going to go search for it. And, I was doing things like that. So it came naturally to me to tell stories. And hopefully I was able to turn it into a career.
That's wonderful. Well, we're off to a very candid start, and I hear what you say about the little thappas that society likes. But nevertheless, it's there's so much that we want to learn from you and hear about you from in the intersection of storytelling and how that can be done better, in the context of India. So, Priya, one of the core focus areas in your work is environmental health and sustainability. You've done a lot of work. You also have a vegan, catering and food service, and you've done a lot of filmmaking around that as well. And you also work with the gender lens. So when we look at the intersectionality, there are a lot of intersectionalities already. When it comes to the health of the earth and the health of the women, etc. Um, can you tell us a little bit about what are some key intersectionalities that you have come across in your work, or the lens that you put around it when you're working with women and when you're working on the environment?
Words like intersectionality are too complicated for me to fathom. But I can tell you more from an anecdotal. I'm not a researcher. I am much more uh, get your hands dirty and learn kind of person, which doesn't lend itself really too much to academic reflection because that comes from data points and things like that. So you'll have to take mine as largely anecdotal and experience, right?
Yeah.
So, I worked on rejuvenating several lakes in Bangalore along with a team of other people. And I find that in general, whenever there is a need for anything that can be monetized, there are a lot of men involved. Whenever there is a need to usurp power in terms of the dynamics of whatever that issue is, there are a lot of men involved. But a lot of the first gear things that need to be done in terms of preservation of our environment, everything starts with women. In our neighborhood, solid waste management started by women. Lake rejuvenation, a lot of women were involved, just doing it quietly, right? But then when it starts getting structured, where you have to reach out to the BBMP, where you have to get a corporate involved, the CSR and things like that, then suddenly there's quite a lot of Y chromosomes that one has to deal with. Not to put that down, but that's just the lay of the land, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, as an example, look at when you say, I mean, I think I was teaching my son or daughter. They were going, not teaching. They don't learn from me anymore. But they were looking at their textbook, and there's something about food production, CBSE textbook, and I would say a majority, and I'm not like an academic, so I'd say a much more than 70-80% of food production in the world is done by women.
Yeah.
Yet, when you look at the CBSE textbook, it's like fruit production. Okay, what kind? This is preservation. This is this thing. How do you how do you run a business? How do you keep hygiene and safety? It's only in contexts where women are involved, where
Yeah.
the main thing that one does is not even acknowledged as being the main thing. It's like the largest food producers, if you take food production as going from raw to processing it to bring it, once it enters the home, or even getting it to enter the home, is all women, majority. Yes.
That's
And
that's right.
talking about food and hygiene, and the word chef was used, right?
Yeah.
It's such a gendered approach to understanding these kinds of things, right? So it's like that for lakes as well. And it's not just gender, it's also class. In the urban context, in the rural context, it's different. In the urban context, it is that all the photographers, bird watchers, the walkers, the joggers, the cyclists, they all are like, like so happy that the lake is there.
Yeah.
But the people who actually had their livelihoods from the lakes, who were the fisher people who preserved these till the urban sprawl came, the women who many times would come into the lake during festivals,
Yeah.
which were sort of regenerative festivals, where you go and you pour water for the plants, or you look after the neem leaves, or whatever, if it was more rooted in religion and culture. um, those kind of people were just sort of shut out when this kind
Yeah.
of happens. So it's not just class, it's also gender. For instance, in one of the lakes, a lot of the women who were migrant laborers would come into the lake, and we had planted hedge plants, and suddenly I would see many women before, and I don't see them anymore, with their sari pallus. They're like collecting leaves and putting it, and I would, neem and tulsi and all of that we would see, and I would say, okay, let's plant another 500 tulsis, and the BBMP would say, no, 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 we don't allow anybody to pluck. Okay,
Yeah.
this is for
Yeah.
nutrition. They were used to foraging, they were used to all of this. You've brought them into the urban context, because the rural context doesn't work in terms of getting any kind of livelihood that is dignified, that is, no, I won't say any kind, but mostly we reduced
Yeah.
it to, you know
Yeah.
so,
That's right.
and then once they come here and you have free access to land, where a photographer can take a picture of with expensive lenses and put it up on some website and make money. The CSR is, the corporate is getting everything that they want in terms of their visibility. People are getting, walking around, running around the lake and feeling healthy, saving money on gyms, all of that. If you monetize, these people want to take some tulsi, some neem, some other herbs, things are growing, and why don't we grow some
Yeah.
nuggekai and agati sopu and all of that? And they would be like, oh, then they'll pick it up and sell it. Well, clearly, if they have to pick it up and sell it, there is a need for them to pick it up and sell it. They need the money.
That's right.
So that's fine. You're not going to sell it. I'm not going to sell it. We don't need it. Right? Okay, let them, they put the effort, they climb up, they go and they bring down, the drumstick leaves, and they sell it outside the lake. Great. We've created an avenue for nutrition that a woman, or somebody who can do this, can
Yeah.
get money, and there is an avenue for nutrition for the urban poor, right?
Yeah.
Which is there. We can create these, but we don't. So that's just an example of in the urban context, because a lot of the people, since we're talking in English and you and I are upper middle class, so a lot of what your audiences is going to be hearing this. The rural context is so far removed from most of the people that we are talking to.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it in a pejorative way. I'm just saying that's the
No,
reality most
that
of
is,
our
yeah.
lives. Unless we make an effort to go there, not just for resorts and holidays, but to actually live in villages,
Yeah.
we don't know that a lot of the women are the seed savers. Maybe when you have a tractor, the man drives it, but a lot of our need for our drivers, our chaprasis, our dunzo delivery people, all of those means a lot of the men are leaving rural areas. So about another 10, 12 hours of work per day goes on the women there, and they
Yeah.
are the ones who have no title to the land. So often if they have to cook, they'll have to forage somewhere for firewood, then they have to go into the farm, they have to manage the water. A lot of it is women. So
Yeah.
environmental and sustainability, when we talk, are like buzzwords, but actually the nitty gritty of it is all largely done by women.